We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. With us this morning, Davidson County Sheriff Darren Hall. His monthly appearance on the program, and actually, we're talking to him about, what's happening right now with the plans for the new jail. You all know about that massive project. They're going to start tearing it down. What, July 1st?
Well, we're going to be empty on July 1st. I bet it's later in the fall, but it'll be ready to be torn down in July 1st.
Have all the inmates pretty much been
will
moved?
Be done by mid-June.
Mid-June. I know you started the process. Going okay so far?
So far, we had another pretty
no
good
escapes?
move over the weekend. Hope not. Don't say that word, but I hope not.
Well, they're moving them all out there to Harding, and that process. And, against the backdrop, it's really, I guess the question this morning to some degree, and we'll take your calls, is, who's really in charge of the project? Part of what was highlighted in your conversation with this reporter at the Tennessean is that is there really a Metro organizational chart put together by the mayor's transition team that has your name on there listed among the city bureaucrats that report to the mayor's office?
Well, and again, this was more symbolic back when it happened. But I was, I don't know, it was November or December, and I was at the office and I had a couple of department heads that work for Metro and been here a long time, and kind of forwarded me an email and said, I didn't know the sheriff reports to the mayor's office, and I was kind of tickled by that. And I looked at it, and sure enough, there was an organizational chart that has me listed reporting to Rich Riebling. To be honest, that's in November, December. I kind of laughed it off and moved on. The problem is some of what we're feeling today and some of what's happening feels like that. It's funny, when I was parking or moving to come over here this morning, one of the officers that works in one of our security posts, when I was pulling out, stopped my vehicle and said, "Do I need to ask General Services for a day off next month?" Kind of a comment to kind of halfway cutting up. The point is this: it's not really about power, believe it or not. It's about ownership and accountability. At the end of this, we're going to have issues on how the building functions and what the costs are and the delays. They all do. And it feels real silly. It's just not my personality to say, that's not my responsibility, that's somebody else's. We've had council members in this town even say this lately, that they don't like hearing the passing of the buck that's going on with this project. And I agree with them. There shouldn't be passing of the buck. I should be able to defend, why is it costing more money? What is that money? What is the schedule? How do we expect families and visitors and lawyers and so forth to interact? I'm not involved at all with those decisions.
Does anyone know the Davidson County jail system better than you in this county? My
staff may.
Outside of your department, does the mayor's office know better?
No, not even close. And by the way, let me clear one other thing up. Chief Anderson and I are good friends. I've grown up in the police department, but there's been some comments over the last couple of weeks about the mayor's office was going to discuss things with the police department to ensure that the security and so forth was okay. And, they would tell you, police would tell you this, that's just not their expertise. What we do, I don't know anything about homicide investigations. I don't do that. They don't know anything about correctional practice and securing facilities. That's just not what police do. And the community expects us to, and you do too, hold the inmates we're required and responsible for in a safe and secure way. That's what all this is about. This is not about crime in neighborhoods. And so the police role in this town is very clear. But the sheriff's role sometimes is less clear, but I don't think anyone should doubt that it's our job to house and secure all inmates. The charter in Nashville is clear about that. The state constitution requires that.
Now the mayor's not suggesting otherwise on that.
Well, not really, but I think when you say that we're going to discuss with the police department, which was written and is discussed with the police department if we need fences around the facilities at the Harding complex, I have some real problem with that. That's not a police issue at all. It would be like asking me if we need certain types of laboratories for DNA labs. I do not operate them. I don't know anything about those.
Now you did say, talking about those fences, and I looked into this story initially too, that there's those soccer fields near the property out there in Harding, and you had brought up a concern about maybe having to shut down those soccer fields when you bring so many inmates out there. Obviously that was, upsetting to many of the families that play out there, and I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time it's their children's safety, with inmates being that close. Not that you expect them to run rampant. Okay, so you had that plan in place, and then what happened? That's changed now. You have to move everyone out there, but at the same time, the mayor's office then has announced that these fields should remain open.
Yeah, we the idea was that the park needed to close for 2 to 3 years while the construction was being done downtown, because it is not. There's no perimeter fence around separating the jails and prison from the park. And so the agreement was, through the mayor's office, was that the park would close for that period of time and that all inmates would continue to be released, as we always have done that. But late, I guess May 6th or 7th or whatever, after a community meeting in southeast Nashville, the mayor's office sent me a letter and saying that they want to leave the parks open because they've discussed that with the police, and they want to all inmates to be released in downtown Nashville. So, you know, if you're going to do that, I do not believe that's the best thing to do, but if you're going to do that, and we can do it, then we need to go spend the money to secure the perimeter of our facilities away from the park, to protect the park and the people in the park, and also protect our staff from the introduction of contraband, which is a very difficult thing to manage when you've got 300 or 400 people every night out at this park. So we can do it. It's very late in the decision to do that.
It's going to cost money too, right?
It's going to cost probably $1 to $2 million on just a fence.
And have you asked for that now to build a fence?
The mayor's office, I think, is going to look to do that. We have made it clear we don't believe it's safe unless you do that, and so we'll wait and see. But we can't do it without the funding, can't build a fence and all that. And so hopefully that gets done. Again, that was a late change in the game because we're moving inmates right now. And so we need to be clear about that. The mayor also recommended in a letter or said that she wants all inmates brought from Harding Place downtown and released. Just so you know, that has never occurred. We release 3,500 people a month in our jail system. Right now, about 2,400 of those are being released downtown, and about 1,000 every month are being released on Harding Place. That's been going on for my 20s.
That's always been going on.
Right.
So she's suggesting now not having any of them released.
Right.
But it's been going on all along anyway.
Right. I've been working in here 26, 27 years.
Well, you know as well as I do, there were a lot of people that didn't even realize there was something out at Harding all these years, which is one reason I think maybe they objected to the idea of the new jail being put out there. We'd been there before, which to me, I still scratch my head on that. So.
Well, and the reality is they didn't know it was out there because I don't believe we were a problem.
Well, there wasn't, apparently.
Right. And so we were releasing 1,000 people a month without that being a problem. Now the idea is let's pick everybody up, drive them all down here, and then drop them off. There's all sorts of problems with doing that. I think it's about a $2.1 million additional cost to do it the way that the mayor
and transporting inmates, things like that.
Liability is increased dramatically. The costs are increased, and I think it's a problem. But if the city and the mayor wants to do that, we can put a cost to it and try to make it happen.
Let's take a call from Joe. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Joe.
Sheriff.
Good morning, Joe.
I'm going to make a few statements here. I know you can't say it out and out, but I can. You're not a member of the downtown mafia, which includes Rich Riebling and the mayor. And the mayor's going to prove in time to come that she is being controlled and is inept to make decisions that's very intelligent. And what they're going to do, and you know it too, they're going to dump all the trash in your trash can that don't go right. And when this thing is all said and done, it's going to be a real overrun in money, no telling how much, of the way they're doing things. And this thing's been a catastrophe from the get-go, from day one. They've done everything backwards. They're still doing it backwards. Now they've cut you out of even making any decisions on what you're going to do about the jail. And I know what goes on downtown, and you know, and I know you can't say it, but I can. And one little tidbit I'll add in right here, they had at McGavock High School a little exhibition this weekend, and they had one of your mobile booking buses out there, which was very nice. And the people in Davidson County better wake up and smell the roses and see what's going on, because this thing is going to be it's going to be a mess from now on for 4 years or 5 years. Like you say, you're the jail. You're building a jail. You're not building a criminal justice building. I mean, I don't know how that anybody can't see that how stupid this is. I mean, it's two different things. But anyway, that's enough. I'm gonna say all I'm gonna say, but I'm disgusted. I didn't like the mayor from the beginning. I don't like her now. And when she gets out of there, it'll be a happy day for me. And Rich Riebling, he's just a carryover from the old school.
Joe, thank you. Now, well, and you know, I mean, you and the former Mayor Carl Dean, who Riebling worked with, got along, at least on this issue, it appears, differently than Mayor Barry.
Yeah, you know, and I've tried to be fair, but I don't believe and don't want to make this personal. I don't feel it's a personal problem. I do think it's fair to say, I mean, this is the first mayor we've had, you know, in my, since I've been the sheriff. that didn't have some criminal justice background. I mean, you know, Bill Purcell was the public defender and worked in the lawyer. Carl Dean obviously was as well. Carl Dean was our lawyer in the sheriff's office for 12 years. I think he understood, and I believe he understood the independence of it and how that works, and obviously the elected part of it. And philosophically, I think, you know, at least in the world of those mayors, I think they understood differently. I think Mayor Berry comes from the legislative experience in the council. The mayor, in most people's eyes, runs the city. I understand that, and I've always said I want to work with the mayor. I just don't work for him, whoever it is. I work for the taxpayers. They should throw me out, and they may do that. But it's really not. It needs to be respected, the independence of it, not the person. I'm not. Believe it or not, this isn't about Darren Hall. This is really about my staff looking at me and saying, when are we moving? How are we moving? How's this going to work? And I can't answer those questions.
All right, let's take a call from Taylor. Hi, Taylor. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Morning.
Good morning to the sheriff.
Good morning.
It's a fine thing going on here, Sheriff, and it appears that the Metro Charter is being rewritten by 3 or 4 people as to how things line up in our city government. And I was never satisfied with Finance Director Manning, Riebling first mayor, Riebling second mayor, and when you say that it appears that General Services is in charge, General Services, as has just been mentioned, reports to Riebling, and this is a power struggle on every dollar in the budget, and this really needs to be straightened out now rather than later, whatever is going on, because what's going to happen is down the road, either cost overruns are going to start taking things that are necessary in this project out. There's going to be shuffling of items within this project, $1 million here, $2 million here, and what is changed may be something very important to you, and whereas something else, if another cut had to be made, maybe you should be deciding where that cut should take place. But as it's going right now, that's not going to happen, and it's going to be like the juvenile justice center and jail that was built. All that money wound up with, I think it was 1 cell more than we had prior to that building being built.
Need to take a break on that note. We're up against it. I'll let you respond. Taylor always with good comments. And, you know, Taylor's lived here a long time. He's absolutely right. You know the Juvenile Justice Center, and this is going back, you know, more than a decade, almost 2, when it was built, the new one. Fancy, nice, really nice, spent a ton of money, and woefully inadequate for the needs.
Right.
And, boy, you don't want that to happen with this jail. Listen, we'll take a break on that note when we come back. Taylor, we'll comment on what you've said. Take Greg and others if you want to jump in on this situation involving the jail. 737-7587. More right after this.